Your Druid has arrived, and this week I'm going to be reading through the questions that I received on my Q&A thread on the ONM forum. So I'm just going to go through them and some of the general comments. I hope the camera isn't messed up. My viewer's broken, so I don't know how well. I hope it's not zoomed into my face. You know, I hope you're not seeing my pores at close range. And if you're wondering why I'm looking off this direction a lot, my laptop's here and I have all the questions saved. So that's why. Okay, so to begin, for the first question. Niaro. I guess this isn't a question, but it's nice to see that you're trying to keep the channel alive. It seems like a lot of people, myself included I suppose, have forgotten about it. Yeah, I am trying to keep the channel alive. Most of the videos I make I also upload on my own channel, so it's not much sacrifice that I'm making, to be honest. But I do think we should try and keep the channel alive, and we should try and, even if people want to discuss things on video form from the forum, it should always be there. I think it's a good resource for anyone who visits the forum and wants to make a video to address forum issues. One thing that we don't normally talk about is, as a YouTube user, your videos tend to be limited to a small range of time. For some people it's around 10, 11, 12 minutes. My own channel is only 11 minutes range on it, and most channels have quite a low range. But for some reason the ONMdaily channel has been given an increase in the time it's allowed. I think it's 25-minute videos you can put in the ONMdaily channel. So that means if I'm doing a Let's Play, I don't need to worry about it when it comes to the ONMdaily channel, which makes it handy, and that's why I wouldn't advise maybe changing channels, because this one's there, it's already made, and we can put as long a video on it as you want. K200. Okay, then I'll ask a question. Who is better, Altair, Ibn La Ahad, or Ezio Auditore di Firenze? Those are two characters out of Assassin's Creed. This is me looking at Wikipedia to check it out, because I mean I played the games for all of 2 minutes in a store in GameStop, just running around knifing people, acting like a general idiot. But yeah, I had a quick look at the Wikipedia article, and there is a massive long history for each of these two, but it doesn't really tell you much about their fighting. You see, I can't talk about the characters without reading the story or playing the games through, and I don't have enough money to buy the games. So just looking at the two, Altair seems to be wearing like a white cloak with a sword and some knives, and Ezio seems to be just sword, knives, and a black cloak. Now, if you're an assassin, I think you'd want a black cloak. I mean, you're going to be more camouflaged for most cases. So I'm going to say Ezio, but I honestly I'm spitballing because I don't have a clue who would win between those two. I don't know the characters well enough, and I don't know their abilities. Adam Guy. What do you think is the appeal of gaming, movies and anime? I think the appeal is different between different games, different movies and different anime. It varies within the genre, within the actual type. I'd throw sports in there because I think they're not all that different. Sports, there is an artistic thing about sports. When you see a beautiful goal or a beautiful shot, it is kind of artistic in a way, but for the most part sports are about competitiveness. And the same thing I think comes to gaming. Some people like the cinematics or the storyline. Other people, you know, like Call of Duty. Like Call of Duty is all about competitiveness, with a bit of RPG mechanics thrown in just to keep people addicted. There's a lot of emotions that come with storylines, and people love a great story. It's just part of being human. You love a great story. So some people like the story, some people like the competitive nature that it brings out in you. And for other games, some people just like the beautiful graphics and to see it for a more artistic reason. Movies, I mean, I love comedy movies. Each genre has its own different draw, and you know, you can like more than one genre, most people do, but people go to see movies for a number of different reasons, and each different movie and each different genre provides different reasons to go watch the said movie. Anime is an interesting one. I think people like it a bit because it's a bit strange and different from what they expect. because it's not made over here, it's willing to show things that aren't considered social norms over here. And I do my anime videos about it, which is mainly about some things that aren't social norms. People find the strangeness interesting, and I've noticed for horror movies, Asian horror movies are just, I mean, they're lapped up, and there's a very good reason for that, because it's strange. Even the environments are strange, and we find so little to associate within the movie that just makes the horror things that happen in the movie even more horrifying. So I mean, I can definitely see the appeal of anime as well. It's interesting. Ormsy, do you have a favourite song, band? If so, why? That's a pretty good question. For bands, I don't know, I tend never to follow a band or a singer. I will buy albums of them if I see an album I like, but I listen to a song of a singer that I think is a crap singer if the song itself is good. I tend to focus mainly on the song itself and not on the band. Although there are singers I specifically like. I do like Bob Dylan. When I was younger, I was very much into Green Day, and I still like Green Day, and they're great live. For a while I liked Fall Out Boy for my sins. As for my favourite song, well, close second for my favourite song would be Bob Dylan, These Times Are Changing. I love the song. I think it speaks very much about the passage of time, that things are constantly changing, and that the mature people make way for the new generation, and that's going to happen, and I'm maturing, and the more I mature, the more I think I understand the song, and the more I feel for it, because I do feel that, eventually, not too far away now, I'm getting on, but, eventually I'm going to have to move away for the next generation, and I feel it's important that this generation gives as much of the good values and good things from this generation on to the next, and makes it easier and makes the world better for the next generation, and the next generation then have the exact same responsibility for the generation after them. I don't like the fear-mongering that goes on with young people, that you've seen the Daily Mail out there, and they constantly just harp on young people. And I remember what it's like being young myself, and there is a distrust between adults and young people, and there is a hatred, and some of it's understandable for the loss of youth. But we've got to try and prevent that. We've got to not let there be a big barrier between young people and old people. We've got to understand that at the end of the... I've completely gone off on a tangent here, but I do think the song is important, and that's why it's my second favourite song. My favourite song is Joe Purdy, Wash Away. I'll put a link in it somewhere here, because I don't want to get my video banned for copyrighted music. But the song is Joe Purdy, Wash Away. And I love the song because no matter in how bad a mood I am, or how shitty a day I've had, or how terrible I feel, at the end of the day, that song will just make me relax, feel chilled out, and just feel a little bit better about myself and the world around me. I think it's a really easy song. It doesn't have to be a great song, but I mean, it's a really easy song to enjoy, and I don't have to concentrate on it. I can just lie back and ease into the music. Second question, and do you have a favourite video game series? If so, why? That's interesting. I think my favourite video game series would be the Legend of Zelda series. The first game of which that I played was A Link to the Past. And I remember when I was young, for Christmas, I'd had my Super Nintendo 1 year at this point, and I hadn't bought any games for it. I got it the previous Christmas from my parents, and with it they got me Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, and Star Fox came with it, and that was a great hoard for me, and that lasted me the year very, very easily. And my parents, even without telling them, they've always been good at buying games at random. So when I asked them to buy me the Nintendo console and just get me Mario Brothers, that's what they provided me with, and I loved all of those games. And Super Mario Kart in particular has I love the original Super Mario Kart. I still think the original is the best Mario Kart game. Another game that I loved was Mario Bros. 3, because to me that was the first very, very good game I played. I played it at my cousin's house, and it struck me. That was the first time I really realised that I really want to play games. That was the reason I bought a Nintendo console. That was the reason I bought my first console. Or not bought, my parents bought it. That was the reason I wanted that console, was for that game. I loved Super Mario Bros. 3, but equally it's still not my favourite game series. Now when it came to the next Christmas, my parents had made good decisions in the past. I was picking up a few Nintendo magazines, or it was the Nintendo magazine system at those times. I think I might have some of them upstairs still, but I said to them, I'm not sure what to get me, just get me a game that looks good. And the game my parents chose was A Link to the Past. They just chose this, they read the back and they thought I would enjoy it. So they chose this game fairly much at random. And I loved A Link to the Past, and I went back and played the older Zelda games since, and I do think A Link to the Past has probably shaped the Zelda series the most out of all of them, even more than Ocarina of Time. I think A Link to the Past was the definitive shaping of the Zelda series. Most of the tropes found in Zelda came from that game. A lot of the bosses in later Zelda games came from A Link to the Past. Still not my favourite game though. My favourite game is the Ocarina of Time. I remember watching the trailers for this over and over and over again. It was shown on TV, and I had put it onto an old VHS cassette and recorded it. And I watched the trailer a few times. That's how sad I was about this game. And I'd read through the Nintendo official magazine over and over and over again about the article about the game, and I was so into it. And because I was so into it, it could have been a game that had completely made me angry. It could have been a game where it failed to live up to my expectations. And I had unbelievably high expectations of Ocarina of Time, and it surpassed my expectations. I loved this game. I've completed it about 15 times. I literally completed it and completed it and completed it. I loved the game that much. And to this day, it's still my favourite game. As much as A Link to the Past shaped the series, it managed to bring it into 3D successfully, and that's difficult. I mean, we've seen what happened to Sonic. He struggled because of the camera problems. Mario managed to do it successfully, and Zelda did it successfully, and I thought A Link to the Past was great, but Ocarina of Time was a better game. I loved the bosses, I loved the story, even though even now it looks a little bit simple for a story, but I loved it. I loved the music. There was a lot to complete in Ocarina of Time. It was a very long Zelda game. The side quests, I actually thought, because I hadn't read through, I'd seen pictures of older Link, but for some reason I never caught on that that was there. So when I completed the first 3 dungeons, I thought that was the end of the game. I thought that was going to be it. But it wasn't. It wasn't, and that, I loved that. I love that, because it was a shock to me when Link turned older and there was more dungeons and there was more for me to do. So I just love that game. I'm going to have to do a review of Ocarina of Time sometime, because to make sure I put it into words why I like that game, but to me it had everything I wanted. And even to this day I go back and play it all the time and I still love that game.